Welcome to ApexToOval. I'm Alex. This is
Jack.
fantastic. This is a weekly um, podcast where we're going to be going over some of the biggest news headlines that happened in the previous week. So today's week we are covering January 20th to 26th. Um, so let's get into it. Um, First off, Monday. So we're going to start with NASCAR, then go to F1, and then we're going to give our predictions for the NASCAR and F1 seasons. Um, Monday, January 20th, was the first article I have. Martin Truex Sr. passes away at 66 years old. Rest in peace, and my condolences to Martin Truex Jr. and his family.
Um, yeah. Well,
Okay, do you want to say Ray?
yeah. I mean, Martin Truex Sr., NASCAR veteran, had a win in the
I
Busch
have
North
I have a
Series.
stat.
Go for
So
it.
Truex Sr. So the article that I pulled to get this information called him a NASCAR legend, which I would like to agree with, but I am biased. Um, but he did make 125 starts in the Busch North circuit, winning once in 1994 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. So he's a NASCAR legend. He's been in NASCAR. He was in NASCAR for years. He ended up
I think
leaving NASCAR, obviously,
I think
and then
his
he held
enduring
his son,
legacy
Martin
is his
Truex.
son. Well, his sons,
Yeah,
plural. Because,
Son's probably yeah, because didn't the other one I forget his name.
oh yeah, Ryan
The
Truex
other
has had some success,
yeah, he
mostly in
was
the
in
lower
Xfinity Series
series,
for a
but
while, right?
he's still, clearly being a pro racing driver is no small task, and to raise two of
No,
them is impressive, right?
very
To get
impressive.
there,
And
not
they're
only
both
get there
good.
yourself, but your namesake is a champion. Your other son is a very accomplished driver in his own right.
It's very nice. But rest in peace, Martin Truex Jr. Second uh, news came on Thursday. Um, NASCAR is going to try out a new tire option for the spring race at Phoenix Raceway. The compound is said to be a soft compound for more grip and faster laps.
Well, this is bringing back the compound that they were testing last year, right?
I
The
believe
softer
so,
option
to an
tire.
extent. I think they changed part of it because it worked a little bit last time, so they're changed a little bit and they're bringing it back for
Well,
more testing.
the idea behind this is that, frankly, with the next gen, short track racing has sucked, right? Like Martinsville has gone from you know, staple like I will watch this. It is going to be one of the most exciting races of the year to like I might fall asleep.
Yeah.
And Martinsville is just an example. So they're trying with this option tire to spice up the short tracks a bit and to see if they can improve the racing at all. But I think the end goal here is to just replace the tire permanently with the softer compound, right? For the short track to just have the
Yes.
one tire, but have it be the softer option tire.
Yes, they want it to be the softer option tire, and it would be labeled with red, like the F1 and stuff.
Well, because they're not doing a full F1. You have different colored tires to choose from. They are obviously
No, but
it's
they
a
are
different
making it
color for
red.
now, but I think
Yeah,
the end
they're
goal
making
is
it
still to
red for
have one
testing.
tire for everyone.
I think they should, F1 decided a couple years ago to take out the rainbow, and I think NASCAR should instill a rainbow tire because I didn't get to experience it as an F1 fan, so I really want it.
I need
So
pink tires back
NASCAR, if
now.
you're listening to me right now, I know you're not, but if you do listen to me at one point in my life, please just get like 12 different colors, 12 different tires, totally like just slightly variations of the other tires. Make a soft tire, then a softer tire, then a softer tire, then a softer tire, then a hard tire, and go on, like so on, until we just have like 50 tires that we can use in 50 different colors, because I would love it.
Get the whole rainbow. They have to start calling them out by like hex codes on the broadcast.
Dog, if they did that, I'd cry. That'd be amazing. I need it. NASCAR, make it happen. Um, on Thursday, January 23rd, Red Bull, Red Bull the company, not Red Bull Racing, but Red Bull the company, is sponsoring and returning to NASCAR. They are sponsoring Trackhouse Racing as their primary sponsor for 5 different races.
I think it's
This is
6,
coming after
including
a 14-year hiatus, and when Red Bull had a Cup Series team back from 2007 to 2011. Obviously, Trackhouse already had some Red Bull athletes in Shane Van Gisbergen and Connor Zilisch. Um, and they will be sponsoring Ginsburg number 88 at Las Vegas on March 16th, Sonoma on July 13th, Iowa on August 3rd, August 3rd, Daytona on August 23rd, and Kansas on September 28th, as well as Zilich's debut at Coda on March 2nd.
yeah, Zelish is the exciting one to me. I mean, to separately talk about him, I mean, he could just be the best ever. Not really, but like he ran four
You're talking about a
Xfinity
Paul
races
Steen type
last year.
prospect?
Well, he ran four Xfinity races last year. He won his first race, top
I
tens in
didn't know
three of
that.
them. Like,
Isn't he
I
only 18?
yes, 2006 he was born. Like he might be the goat. 9 ARCA Menard Series races, 8 top 10s, 5 wins. ARCA East races, 7 top 10s, 4 wins out of 8 races. ARCA West, won his only race. Like this guy just doesn't lose. Truck
Yeah.
Series,
Didn't
he
he?
ran 6 races, no wins,
Yeah.
but 2 poles. Like 33% of the time, he's on pole. And like, I don't know. Every stage in his career, he's just been insane.
Yeah. Didn't he also race in the 24 Hours of Daytona?
Yeah.
I don't think he did that bad either.
I mean, I don't think he's done that bad in anything in his life, but yeah,
No, that is true.
I
That is true.
I don't remember because I didn't get to catch that much of it. I guess they won because he raced for Trackhouse this year, right? At Daytona. And I don't remember that car doing very well. Um, but obviously that reflects on a lot more than just one individual driver. But I'm pretty sure he was part of winning teams multiple times last year.
Hmm.
He's
I
crazy.
know. Hold on, give me a second. Wait a minute, because he hasn't made his Cup debut.
No, not yet. That's the
Obviously,
race that Red Bull is sponsoring.
That's coming in Coda.
Yeah.
Well, he okay. Well, let's just be honest. He's literally won. Oh my God, I'm going through his page. It's gross. It's actually disgusting. What the heck?
But yeah, so this year he's full-time Xfinity and he's debuting in Cup, which I mean, he's run like 2 dozen races in any level of NASCAR, and it's hard to say that he's not going to be one of the top contenders this year in Xfinity.
No, he because was he in what's it called last year? Um, was he in truck? He was in truck, right?
He ran a few races in trucks and a few races. I'm pretty sure trucks was last year, and he ran the 4 Xfinity races. But I'm pretty sure he ran like almost the full IMSA season or something like that.
I believe so. Yeah, he ran almost the full IMSA season. He got
Yeah.
first, 12th. Didn't race. Third.
But yeah, and Red Bull coming back for a team that they don't own. That's
Yeah,
huge.
that's crazy. Granted, they do have two Red Bull drivers,
Yeah,
but
but still, like
you
when it comes
know,
to racing, they
but
fielded a
yeah,
NASCAR team. They field teams in a bunch of other like areas.
that's
So to
true. Well, they have like so many different like I was looking at their YouTube channel like the other day. Like they have so many different like motorsport athletes.
and
Like
sports in general, because they also do
well, sports
like
in general, yeah,
extreme
but like
sports.
specifically motorsports, like
Yeah,
on Friday, January 23rd, news came out that I don't know if I'm saying this right.
Casey Kane.
Casey Kane is
Yeah,
making his NASCAR comeback in the Xfinity Series with Richard Childress Racing on Saturday, April 19th at Rockingham Speedway. Now, I didn't know who this was, but
he's everyone's mom's favorite driver. No, but he was a good
Huh.
driver. He was in the Cup
Yeah,
Series for a long time.
I did see that, like, um, from the article that he was actually a decent driver for a while.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, no, he was good.
18 wins, 176 top tens, 27 poles is not bad at all.
Yeah,
That's very good.
it's interesting to see him come back after quite a while, but I
He
guess with
hasn't raced.
them going to Rockingham, I I guess he wanted to go back to that track because he had some success there.
So he hasn't raced in the Cup Series since 2018, in the Xfinity since 2017,
Hmm.
and the trucks since 2015. But he only ran 6 races in the truck series, so take that in
Yeah.
mind. He ran 6 races, but has 5 wins and 6 top 10s. That's just really, what the heck. Anyway, um, yeah. So that ends our NASCAR um, news stories. Now on to F1. Now I think I would say the biggest news story, but I am extremely biased. Um, and this is
No.
all motorsports this week. Lewis Hamilton debuted in red. He took a photo in the Ferrari race he posted on Instagram. He looked damn good in red, I have to say.
If we're
Dude, he
being
just
honest,
gained
I think
so
you'd say
much
he'd look
aura
damn
from
good in
just that
anything.
one photo. What?
If we're being honest, I think you'd say he'd look damn good in anything.
I mean, have you seen his dressing? Have you seen his dress? Like his wear, like his like clothes? It's banger after banger. The dude goes to the Met Gala for God's sake. Like, oh my God. Um, anyway, he had a meeting with the staff and the executives at Maranello, and they took an amazing photo of him in his suit next to, I forget what Ferrari it is, but it was an older Ferrari, just a regular Ferrari car, not F1 car, and it had 7 doors open, and the eighth was closed. A championship incoming. Also, on the topic of Lewis Hamilton, on Wednesday, he drove the 2023 Ferrari around Maranello's test track. So, and his helmet is a banger. Like his helmet looks actually really good. I didn't think it would look good at Ferrari because he got the purple and everything. He cut out the purple, just yellow. It's amazing.
Ooh.
But yeah, kind of reminds me a little bit of Senna, but not. It doesn't have the green, but it kind of like. Are you looking it up?
Yeah.
It kind of gives the yellow is giving Senna vibes, but it's not full Senna vibes because there's no like. It's not the details aren't the same,
Ooh.
but it yeah. What are your thoughts? Lewis Hamilton is now officially a Ferrari driver.
I think it's one of those things that was kind of shocking when you first heard it, at least for me,
Yeah,
right? Where
yeah,
like what do you mean he's leaving Mercedes at this point? But also it's Ferrari, right? Like I think he's
yeah,
described it like I mean it's kind of a dream for anyone, I feel like.
yeah. I
It's
mean,
like
it has
in
to be.
baseball, half the kids in the country, it feels like they grew up dreaming of playing for the Yankees, right? Where like, you take a step back and it's like, yeah, it's Ferrari. Sure, he's had his whole
Mm-hmm,
career with Mercedes engines, right? Had McLaren,
mm-hmm,
Mercedes, but it's Ferrari. And even a seven-time champion, you know, in the conversation for greatest ever, even like that has allure even to him to do it there, you know?
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was very surprising for me because I was expecting him to just stay at Mercedes. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. I was expecting him to be at Mercedes for the rest of his career. Um, but when you kind of think about it, it does make sense. I mean, Lewis is the biggest brand F1 has ever had, and you have the biggest car brand, the manufacturer brand in F1 history, the biggest team in F1 history, and the biggest driver in F1 history. I mean, I was surprised at first, but I'm like thinking about it. You're like they had to come together at some point. Like they had to,
Yeah.
um,
It just
just because
if
of how big both they are in the sport.
it feels weird in the context of like the current state of the sport, where like,
Yeah.
Lewis was so dominant with Mercedes, where Ferrari were
Hmm.
struggling and shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over and over.
Yep.
You take that step back and it's like, yeah, it's Ferrari.
Yeah. Yeah. I think ever since even like before Schumacher got the Ferrari, like it's just a
Well,
dream for everyone. Cause like they've been like the biggest car brand in like the world. I would say like mo most like noticeable, most memorable car brand in the world. Plus, I mean, their motorsports are always super good. Like they've won the
I
past
mean,
24 hours of Le Mans
they are
easily.
F1. Like,
Yeah, like they've won the most championships in F1. So like it made sense. I was sad because I did want to see him stay at Mercedes, but I very much like him in red. So yeah. On Tuesday, January 21st in F1, there was a new race engineer announced. Laura Muller became the first female F1 engineer for Haas and Esteban Ocon this upcoming season. Now, I'm very excited about this. I'm all about breaking barriers breaking barriers in general, but especially in motorsports and sports in general. Um, but this is an amazing opportunity, and I hope she kills it. I hope she kills it because I mean this is well deserved. I've heard it's well deserved. Um, and Ocon's a great driver, so working with him and working with Haas is gonna be nice. So I'm very excited for her, and hopefully she can do very well.
yeah, it's one of those things where I'm surprised it hadn't happened sooner. But at the same
Yeah.
time I'm kind of not. But like, this isn't a role that, besides just that you're talking to the driver,
Hmm.
feels stereotypically like masculine, right?
Yeah.
Where clearly there have got to be so many people that are more than qualified for it. And I'm sure that,
Hmm.
as is typical when you have, a woman have a job like this in sports, or like, a minority elsewhere, that I'm sure she's overqualified, right? That like she is going to excel in this position. But like reading it, I was like, really? The first?
Hmm. Hmm.
Now? You know?
Yeah, I think it's a big step up for women in motorsports. I think, always when you're breaking a barrier of some kind, it's a very big moment. And hopefully other women in the sport can build on it.
I do hope it's kind of a stepping stool to more, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think like, and I mean, going to drivers and female drivers, I'm surprised it hasn't happened, like a breakthrough has happened with female drivers. I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. I mean, Susie Wolf, if we're just going off of just, Susie Wolf was amazing. He was a great driver and definitely, in my opinion, deserved a spot on an F1 team for a little bit. Um, and she never did, which is really sad. But now she is helping the next generation of women, which I would take. Obviously it's a good thing. And she always obviously has the experience of being a professional driver to help the women in the sport rise up and make it to F1. So, I kind of wish she got her shot, but
Yeah. And that's
um,
something where you've seen drivers in the US get kind of more of a shot. I think
yeah,
that like the W series was kind of a step backwards there, where
yeah,
like,
yeah,
especially with how tightly in Europe they tend to stick to the developmental tracks, right?
hmm,
Like, you're quote unquote, I mean, obviously, if I say separate but equal, obviously that's, you know, brings back images of US like civil rights era, right? But like when you're separating
yeah,
the series like that, even if you want to say, okay, it's at the same talent level as like an F3 and F2,
hmm,
if they're not in F3, F2, if they're spending those couple years over in a completely
hmm,
separate series, teams aren't going to look at it the same.
yeah. I
Which is
agree with
not to
that.
say that they like, I'm not saying that they shouldn't look at it the same, but they're not going to, right?
Yeah. I also think that like with F1 Academy, I think it's a step in the right direction. With the winner getting a free ride somewhere. Um, but where I personally have a gripe with F1 Academy, I think, it's always changing, it's always, getting better. But my biggest gripe with the F1 Academy currently is after what the year, 2 years that they sponsor you in a different series, if you don't perform, you're not keeping your sponsors. That's my biggest issue. Is like if for me at least, if you're gonna have an all women racing series like F1 Academy, fund them like have the F1 Academy, but also fund the women through the F3, F2 path as well, if you're gonna have F1 Academy. Also, I think, and I know that a couple F1 Academy drivers have spoken out about like, no, we don't need more spots, we don't need a better way to move up. We just need it to be like recognized, and I agree with that as well. But I think only having the top driver, the winner of F1 Academy, move up, I think is kind of for me it's great. At least they're getting a shot somewhere else. But for me, I think they need to put more funding into it,
Yeah, you
especially to
kind of
get
gotta,
more women.
unless and until they're judged solely on merit and they're given the developmental opportunities to be able to get there, right?
Hmm.
Because there's such an imbalance in the lower, like in the youth levels, right?
Yeah.
But unless and until that's the case, you kind of have to force the issue a little bit just to push it in that direction,
Hmm.
right?
Because like my whole thing is like F1 Academy winner 2 years ago. So not this past season, but 2023, Martha Garcia. I was doing a women in motorsports in her for my personal motorsports account, and I found, she is no longer in single seaters because she couldn't get funding. Like that's where I have an
Yeah.
issue with. Is like you're gonna move her to a different series. You're gonna fund her for a year or two, but then you're not gonna continue funding her.
That's also
That or
that's
even
also
help her get sponsors.
yeah. That's also in some ways the reality of motorsport, especially before you hit kind of the like really top tier is either you have an academy that's willing to fund you through it,
Yeah.
or in probably the majority of cases, you at least also have your own source of funding, whether it's your parents, whether it's some company that you somehow established a relationship with, right?
Yeah.
But that just kind of becomes a requirement.
Yeah. I think that like there needs to be something that happens with like funding that just
Yeah.
flips the tide or something, because like it's just not, as of now, it's for me it's too slow of an up it's too slow of a climb at this point. They need to somehow speed it up. Going on to another article from Tuesday. It was announced by Haas F1 that the 2025 F1 season is the first season that Gene Haas, who is the owner of Haas F1, as per his last name, does not have to put money or fund the team anymore. They made enough money last season to fund the team. Come on, man. That's great. I mean,
I I
you've been in F1 since what, 2016 or
I
whatever,
I
and you
I,
haven't been able to max out. Like, come on. Thank God. And now
I
they have Ocon. Now they have Behrman. I hope they do so well.
I think the phrasing of this is kind of funny in the sense that like okay, I'm glad that Gene Haas isn't like why respectfully, why do I care that much about Gene Haas's wallet? But like, good for the progression of Haas F1 team that
That's
they
what I mean.
can
It's like
spend
I
to the
don't care
cap.
about Gene Haas's wallet. The
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
progression is amazing.
Like, but the headline that we're kind of working off of is like Gene Haas won't need to fund his team, and it's like
Yeah.
But Haas can hit budget cap? Yeah, but like,
Yeah.
like
Well,
why do
my
I
whole
care
thing is
about
like
Gene
if you look at
Haas?
like the first season of F1 Drive to Survive, I don't watch Drive to Survive because I can't be asked because I watch all the races, I know the drama, but
Also,
like
the first few seasons they had something like special going. The
yeah,
first couple seasons, and then
yeah, but for F1 for the Drive to Survive, I watched the first couple of episodes in the first season. And I swear to God, every episode was Haas messing up in some sort of way. Whether it be a double pit stop where both tires fell off the car, like be for real, Haas. You've come a long way, and I'm so excited.
yeah, Haas has been kind of a train wreck, but
Yeah, it's
and
been bad.
it took Tony Stewart for Haas's team not to be a train wreck in NASCAR.
That is true.
Like
And now
it,
they're no longer a thing.
but I'm glad that it seems like he's figured out how to get the right people in place to do the
Oh
job
yeah,
over
I'm
time.
excited about it. I need
And it
Haas to
seems
start
like
winning
they're
because
they're moving in a good direction. And you combine that with Andretti consistently pushing to get involved in NASCAR. I think they're talking about, obviously F1 was a high profile case there that they're not going to give up. Um, like
I need
American
Haas to
representation in
do better.
F1 looks like the prospects look good, you know?
Yeah, I need Haas to do better this season because if Andretti's not allowed in, I need Haas to pull. I need them to carry. I need them to hard carry the Americans. All right. Logan Sargent's gone, far gone at this point. I need him to carry. But yeah, they're
They
making
get Haas
amazing
up to like
steps.
fifth in the constructors.
They're just a solidified mid table car. I'd
But
love
yeah,
that.
but get behind that kind of big four of Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari. Get above like Aston Martin.
Yeah.
See if they could try to get there in the
Williams
next
never
couple of
Louis
years.
though, so that's going to be hard. They do have Louis now. It's going to be hard. Anyway, Wednesday, now this is my big article. Um, I saw a lot of
This
content on
is
social media about this. Um, Jack knows what's coming. The FIA released new fines for misconduct. So I'm going to go into
oh
them and then we're going to talk about them. If a driver uses words, deeds, or writings to hurt the FIA, its bodies, or members/executive officers, or more generally the interests of motorsports and values of the FIA, for the first offense, you get a €10,000 fine. For the second offense, you get a €20,000 fine and a 1 month suspension. And for the third offense, you get a €30,000 fine, another 1 month suspension, and championship points deducted from your point tally. Let's just talk about that first one first. Like,
I
why? There's
I
no need.
I get why they do it. I hate it.
Yeah. Basically,
Like
they're
it
just trying to protect their backside.
and
It's just
and
not
to
fair.
take championship points,
Yeah.
especially when like, we've seen the sides that the FIA has taken on some issues,
Yeah.
especially like, versus what the drivers might be doing, right? Obviously, I think Lewis has himself kind of challenged the FIA stance on a few
Oh
things,
yeah, him and
right?
Seb really did at certain points.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Um where like you're telling me that they could pull championship points after a certain period of time and it's up to their discretion, which is like
That
I
is not.
I cuz some of the other rules that they implemented, which we can cover, I
Yeah.
understand more, but this just
Yes.
like I don't like that they have sole authority on what
Yeah.
counts as hurting themselves and are able to put, like, I understand that they run the series, but like, come on.
There's now a dictatorship, and the FIA is at the very helm, and nobody can do anything about it. You know what's funny though is like just talking about this first one. Um, they need to go on strike. I'm being honest. Like they really need to go on strike for a little bit. I don't really care if we miss the F1 season, the first little bit of the F1 season. Like they need to go on strike. because this isn't it. That's an issue.
That's funny. That's the first time I've heard someone say that kind of sentiment for F1, but obviously a lot of people have been saying that for baseball lately.
Yeah, but well, I mean,
Which
here's
is
the thing:
like
is like there was an F1 strike at one point in like what the 80s or 90s, and they had a big sleepover. I'm gonna edit that. I'm gonna put a bleep over that. Um, they put us like they all had a sleepover together, and there's like really cool pictures from it. Um, but like they need to like revolt because this is an issue. You can't just like it's at their discretion. That's an issue. If it was a governing, if it was a separate entity, maybe, maybe, but no, it is themselves governing it. So I don't like it. They need to
like
strike.
this is approaching like NASCAR level control over the sport territory,
Yeah,
which like if you look into the people that run NASCAR for more than like 10 minutes, your head's gonna spin. You know, like it's
yeah,
it's uh
it's bad.
yeah.
Um, the second little thing I have here is if any misconduct, so misconduct in this scenario means offensive or insulting language, offensive gestures or signs, assaulting others, or inciting others to assault, is the same suspensions as I said before. So $10,000 for a first offense, 20,000 and 1 month suspension for the second offense, and 30,000 1 month suspension and championship points deducted for the third offense. Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. If they just said in this assaulting others or inciting others to assault, I would agree. I don't think those things are good and they don't deserve to be in the sport. Offensive or insulting language, offensive gestures or signs. Guys, have we not seen Max Verstappen? He's gonna go MIA. He's gonna quit. Him and Yuki Tsunoda are going to quit. Do you know how much they cuss? They're gonna be banned within the first 10 minutes of them getting into the paddock.
Yeah.
So like personally, I'm not like I don't really care about offensive language, right? As I just cussed 2 minutes ago. But like, let's
I
be honest. Like the majority of people who are watching F1 probably aren't little kids. Like they're teenagers, they're adults, they're middle-aged people, they're grandma, grandpas. Like that, they're they're able to hear like swears and not be like, like
Yeah, I
you little
think
boys.
I get the sense based on how much they also show of the driver radios that this isn't meant for like basic swears, but this is meant for like slur type things.
I feel like also like offensive gestures or signs. Did that just mean the middle finger?
And its equivalents, I think, in other languages. But yeah, things like that.
Like, I just I don't know. I don't like it. The second half, fine. First half, don't like.
I do love equating assaulting others to complaining about the FIA as the exact
Um,
same punishment.
then you're gonna like this next one, Jack, because the next
Oh,
one is any punishment, incitement of hatred or violence has the same punishment as talking crap about the FIA.
rats.
Come on, you could have at least upped the level of punishment. If like, come
God, I
on,
hate when I incite violence
like
accidentally.
accidentally.
Like me complaining about a call in the moment, like
Yeah,
having to serve some sort of penalty.
yeah.
Obviously, that's the
No,
same as me causing someone to hurt someone else, you know?
yeah. It's just not. It's not it.
Yeah.
Um,
But this
next
one,
one is this one is any display of political, religious, and personal statements or comments that are deemed not neutral by the FIA. Dog,
what are we
it's bad.
doing?
It's just bad. It's just really bad.
No, and this one, like, not only is it the same fines and suspensions and championship points, but it also requires a public apology and retraction. Like, and
Every
and
single time you do it.
and are they going to include like, oh, I think gay people are allowed to exist? Like, is that? not deemed neutral by the FIA based on some of the countries they go to and some of the like
No. Oh no. This could get really bad. Yeah, Lewis is gonna get banned for this one. I'll tell you that.
like with
Lewis
the
is gonna
FIA's
get.
history and with a lot of the countries that they race in, like what's neutral and not?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I just think I'm. You know what? I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna think it. I think we know what neutral means. I think we know. But yeah. Um. And then the last one is failed to comply with the instructions by the FIA regarding appointment and participation during official ceremonies at any FIA competition. So for this, you get 15,000 fine, then a 30,000 fine, and suspension of access to reserved areas at next event, and then 45,000 uh, and suspension of access to reserved area at events for 6 months and championship points deducted. So not going where the FIA wants you to go is more money than everything else, and you get championship points deducted.
Yeah, I don't. So when would this actually apply? Like, what incident
I'm
would this actually
assuming
apply to?
I do not fully know, but I would assume like podium celebrations. Pretty obvious one. I would feel like would be included. I feel like with team activities would be the main one. Like how like during the race weekend, like for the paddock club, the drivers will go up there and like speak.
Because this is
I
official ceremonies.
Yeah. So I'm assuming either the podium.
Yeah, because I was trying to rack my brain to think of like what would prompt them to make this, much less make it punishable like more strictly than any of the other ones they introduced. And
Well,
like
it this is okay. So it says fail to comply with instructions by the FIA regarding appointment
and participation
and participation during
during official
official ceremonies
ceremonies.
at any FIA competition. But I'm going to be honest. I think this might. I might be totally wrong. I think this might have to do with Max. Because I don't know if you remember at some point last year, like towards the middle end of the season, Max refused to talk on the sit around. I think that might be included. It's not an official ceremony per se, but it is an official couch session by the FIA.
Yeah, I think that one was more that one was misconduct that he breached there.
But he didn't know, but I don't think it was because he just stayed quiet and said, "I'll answer all questions outside this meeting. I'll answer all questions out." Like that's not following the instructions.
Oh, different incidents. Sorry.
Different incident. Yeah. So Max went like on like Thursdays, it's like the media sessions.
Hmm.
So Max was in the media session. He didn't answer any questions.
Yeah.
Zero. He was just like, "I'm not answering that." And then one of the interviewers were like, or the press was like, "Would you answer questions outside?" He's like, "Of course I will, but I'm not answering them here." And then he had a whole. Then like the entire press for like F1 was outside of the building, surrounding him, asking him questions. I think that's what that has to do with, if I'm being honest.
But also keep in mind that all of the numbers we just said
Yeah.
is the baseline.
Yeah.
For an
I
F1
think it's
driver,
yeah.
it's multiplied by 4, right? Isn't that how like the tiering system works for the FIA
I don't
penalties?
know. From what I was reading from the article, it said that these were the base fines. So
I'm
maybe.
pretty sure for F1 drivers it's multiplied by 4, which means $60,000 for that. 40,000 for criticizing the FIA.
Oh my
Although
God,
I
you're
don't
right.
think
These guidelines claim base fines.
yeah, I think
Well,
That only
by
applies to the money
points.
part, obviously. So it's not like a 4 month suspension, but
Yeah, it's just the money part. So yeah, a 1 month suspension is just a 1 month suspension. But what do you consider a 1 month suspension? Are just you can't race?
yeah,
So if you're leading the championship and you do one of these things a second time, you are no longer allowed to race for 1 month.
I, by my understanding, it sounds like it.
That is dumb. That is stupid.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Well, out of the
FIA is
dictatorship, out of the dictatorship by the FIA, we're not going to be talking about our predictions. So we have NASCAR predictions and F1 predictions. Now, I am the one who watches both like every time. Jack, I don't know. You have made predictions for F1. Do you watch F1 anymore? Do you like keep? I know you keep up with it a little bit,
I
but like, do you fully watch anymore?
at this
Because I
point
know
I'm
we've
more
had.
loosely keeping tabs on it.
Okay.
Because the draw to F1 for me was like it its legitimacy as a racing series versus right
Yeah.
almost everywhere else you have spec series. NASCAR obviously has kind of a bunch of tricks up their sleeves to make it closer. And
Hmm.
then it was I think Max's first championship, like 2021
It
Abu
was
Dhabi, something
2021.
like
Yeah, I
that.
remember 2021 is what spiraled your kind of
That
following.
was when that's where the interest kind of started waning, only because that decision was so egregious at the time. Where I was like, I at this point I almost like I prefer the on track product of IndyCar,
Yeah.
right? As far as
I'm
just the
starting
actual
watching this
races,
year, so I'm excited. I'm on
which that's
Grosjean.
also just because IndyCar is a really good series that I think deserves more respect than it gets. Um,
Yeah.
but like I don't this doesn't need to be like my first priority as a fan. If they're doing the
Yeah.
same stuff as the other series, but there isn't the parody or anything to make up for it, right?
Hmm.
Because and
Yeah.
then you see the FIA continue to make so many decisions that kind of sour me on it. Where like I am still invested in the teams and the drivers, but the series itself at times I just like annoys me because it feels like they're being NASCAR but acting like they're not, right?
Yeah.
And clearly
The
I'm wearing a NASCAR driver's hat, but there are a lot of things that NASCAR and the other series have as far as parity and field size and openness to having another team in the field that F1 hasn't had, you know.
yeah. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Getting into NASCAR predictions first because it is this weekend. This Sunday, we are starting off the one preseason race. Cookout Clash.
The
Very
Clash,
excited. Um,
which it's at Bowman Gray Stadium this year, which means it's going to be chaos.
yeah.
Do you know what Bowman Gray
It's
is?
gonna be bad. What?
You know what Bowman Gray is, right?
Yeah.
Tiny, tiny little stadium. It's like they're like racing around a
Isn't
football
it like
stadium.
two, like, how many laps is it? Hold on.
It's like imagine the track around like a high school football
Yeah.
field. It's that.
Oh God, no. It's 50.6 miles, 200 laps?
It's literally the
Oh,
track around a football field.
I'm ready. I'm ready for so many wrecks. Oh, this is gonna be great.
It like every time and people love it on social media when it goes viral for like being an absolute train wreck. People fighting on the, football field in the middle because it's just chaos. Like it
I
is.
love it. I love it.
Which, you know what, for the Clash, all right, it's going to cost the teams a lot, but at least it's not a points race because sure, I'll watch it, but if that counted for points, I think I might puke.
10 drivers don't DNF. It's not a good race.
Well, to be fair, I think that's how the Clash went um, before they started playing around with it.
That is true. All right, so for our regular season champion, I have Kyle Larson. He is a Hendrick driver, and they are really good.
Yeah, and he
I
was what,
have
1 point
Kyle.
short or something like that? Like he was close
Yeah,
versus Reddick
he was
last year.
very close last season. Uh he was the regular season champ in 2022. Last year he was very close, so I have him actually winning the regular season champ.
I've got his teammate in William Byron. Um, he's a guy that feels like is, I mean, streaky isn't really a word to use in motorsports as much, but it feels like he's been kind of streaky where like there are some weeks where he'll go for a stretch looking like the best driver out there. And then he'll have stretches where he's faded to kind of middle of the pack, like not to disrespect Alex Bowman, but where Alex Bowman has sat for a lot of races, right? Where he's not really standing out. And but the talent is so clearly there and he's been
Hmm.
there for long enough that I feel like this is the season where he really puts it together consistently.
Yeah, I agree. I like that pick. I'm still gonna say Kyle Larson. I like that
Yeah,
pick.
I mean
It's
there
not. I
is
mean, it's the Hendrick. It's the Hendrick car. It's the two drivers. Like.
which is interesting because the last two champions, three champions have been Fords.
Yeah. Yeah. Praise. Praise the
And
Lord.
obviously Reddick was the regular season champion this year.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Overall champion. This might just be hopium. This might just be delusion. This may just be what I want, not what I think. I have Denny Hamlin. I just want him to win a
you
championship,
want him to
man. That's
finally get
all
it
I
done?
want. He doesn't, he's 44. He doesn't have that much time left. Like, please, Denny, do it. Please. Please.
Yeah, I got Tyler Reddick. I think he finishes the job this year. He came close last year and
Hmm.
obviously won the regular season championship. Was incredible last year. And that's with a
Yeah.
2311 team that struggled at times as a team. And Reddick was still like, he's in good equipment, maybe not the best equipment, but good equipment,
Hmm.
and definitely outperforming it. Where if they take another step forward, I and he definitely, he's got the juice to do it, right? Where like I think
Yeah.
that this is the year that he can get it done through that playoff run.
Huh? That's not bad pick. That's actually a really good pick. I like that. I'm just a hopium for Denny Hamlin at this point. I
Just
just
that
need him
like
to win
finally
something.
get one.
Please, you are 44. Win something.
He's done
Uh,
everything else.
he's literally done everything else. My biggest surprise of the season, is Mr. Megamind himself, Ty Gibbs. It's Ty Gibbs. He's been improving every year. 2 years ago he was 18th. This past season he was 15th. He's been improving. So I think he finally takes a step forward and finishes at least top 10.
Yeah, I could see that. It's hard for me to count him as like biggest surprise with how hyped he was coming in because he was
Yeah.
dominant in Xfinity. Like he
Yeah.
skipped trucks and was dominant.
Hmm.
Um, but I do think that he's a good driver, and I think that he's got it in him, especially if he can. And he has calmed down versus kind of what he was, where he would drive mean, um, so to speak. But like, if he can kind of continue to grow, he's definitely got the talent to do it.
Yeah.
Um, I've got actually, once again for the second time, all three times we've picked the same manufacturer, but again picking teammates here with Chase Briscoe, um, Ty Gibbs' new Toyota teammate, replacing Martin Truex Jr. At JGR. I I have been a huge fan of Briscoe's. I mean, you can see right there behind me. I've got a few like shelves of a bunch of diecasts, all the like the Target, Walmart, those little like the little diecasts you could get for like $5 at Walmart, and then I've got a couple like I got one from the track at Pocono this year. That's a Bubba Wallace car. I've got a hauler on there. I've got like a Funko Pop of Bubba as well. Um, but I've got probably a dozen Briscoe cars in there. Like he is one of my favorite drivers, Even though a lot of that was from that year in Xfinity where he was, excellent. Obviously, he's won with Stuart Haas when Stuart Haas fell off a cliff, right?
Hmm.
And I think that there's a lot of talent in there that couldn't be used because he was on a team that was going so far downhill. Where now that he's on one of the top teams, I think that he's going to turn some heads versus maybe what people are expecting from a guy that was kind of middle of the pack at
Hmm.
SHR.
Yeah. Um, my biggest letdown. Now, this is my favorite driver. So I- I'm hoping it's the opposite. But I have Bubba Wallace. Um, I don't know. I have high hopes for him every season, and then he doesn't perform.
So then how would he be the biggest letdown if both of the
Because
last two
every single
seasons
year I
have
get my
been
hopes up. I mean,
okay?
that's fair. I mean, I just think he's not going to do as well as this season. That's my thing. I think he's going to do a little worse.
Because kind of both the last two seasons, 2311 as a team has started off messy, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like a lot of
Yeah.
the time, Bubba would be in a hole playoffs wise, or be like right on the cutoff on points because
Hmm.
he can't quite run a race, but he'd be there on points if it wasn't for like his car breaking or
Yeah.
them making some of the worst strategy calls that you've seen. Where
Really?
like, what?
Ferrari? Is
Right?
that you?
Right.
Ferrari?
Except they're not like, I don't think they have the high end of maybe Ferrari and F1, but it's definitely some of the same goofs and gaffes. Um, where like,
Bubba?
you could definitely talk yourself into him being a real contender this year. But
Yeah. I just don't think unless he wins a race, I don't think he makes playoffs again.
well, and his two wins have both come during the playoffs as a non-playoff driver. Like
Hmm.
he's won races and they still won't get him into the friggin' playoffs. Like it's just
Yeah.
infuriating.
Yeah. I'm so just I'm not happy.
Um,
Being a Bubba fan is tough, man. I hate it.
my biggest letdown is also a driver that I have diecasts of, although not as much as I do Briscoe or Bubba. Um, those along with Chastain are my three favorites, which is probably a strange group, but who cares? Um, but it's SVG. It's Shane Van Gisbergen. Um, I like him. I loved watching that first race of his. I liked watching him grow in Xfinity this year, but I think that from a cup perspective, people have seen the best of him, right?
Hmm.
And saw the performance at Chicago, but it's not like he was racing ovals with a lot of eyes on him in cup, right? He was running Xfinity and he was learning,
Yeah.
but I think that he comes in with probably more hype than he should have for
Hmm.
where he's at as an oval racer, that I
Hmm.
think that people are going to be more disappointed with him than maybe they should be, because I think that he should be given that space to grow.
Hmm.
But, people are rightfully excited for him to make the jump to cup, but he's got two very good teammates and I don't see him outperforming either one. And so that probably puts him in the low teens or high teens, low to mid 20s in the driver's standings. But, if
Hmm.
he can win a race, especially on a road or street course, that gets him in the playoffs anyway. So
Hmm.
we'll see.
Well, we will see. For F1 predictions, now on F1, my driver champion. Again, this is very much hopium. This could very much not happen. Lewis Hamilton. I just need him to win his eighth. I want to see him win. Please. I need him. By the way, I just want to point out, Jack has got me hooked on Lewis Hamilton. If he didn't mention like the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix while we're playing GTA races that one night, and he's not talking me through what happened, I would not like I wouldn't be a fan of F1, number one. Number two, I
So,
wouldn't be so attached to Lewis Hamilton. You made me attached to Lewis Hamilton. I'm happy
oh
for it.
gosh,
Thank you. But this is your doing.
what have I
You've
done?
given me the hopium and it's gonna get taken away real quick.
Um, yeah, so I was also gonna pick either Lewis or Leclerc. I was gonna pick one of the Ferrari drivers. Um, but seeing that you picked Lewis, I think it's only fair if I pick Max.
Oh, I can't have that happen again. I didn't even watch F1 that year. I didn't start watching till 2 years later, and I'm still I'm
No,
I'm I'm traumatized by it somehow.
I just
I didn't
mean
even watch it.
look at the last 4 years. You know,
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah, but
gonna,
the Newey's gone. Newey's gone. And that car is screwed up from last year. So
yeah, we'll see. He's
I
also,
don't think Verstappen finishes top four. I think he doesn't finish top five.
I don't know about
That's
that.
my hot take. My hot take is Verstappen doesn't finish top five, mostly due to car issues.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we'll see.
Um, our constructors champs. I mean, I think I can both say it. Ferrari.
Yeah, I may have switched my driver champ pick just to oppose you. I would have picked Lando instead of Max if I really wanted to, but I
Nah,
don't.
he's not ready yet. He's
I
not
wouldn't
ready yet.
believe that if I said it necessarily.
Nah, he won
Um,
his first race last season. Give him a little bit of time.
um, but yeah, for constructors champs, I'm not going to disagree with you here. I think Ferrari gets it done this year.
Yeah.
The driver lineup is
It's
too
funny.
good. The car is going to be good.
Yeah. Um, I agree. My biggest surprise. So both of our biggest surprises are teams. Mine was a
Yeah,
driver, but I switched to do a team because I really like this team. Haas. Haas are gonna show the. They're gonna finish top six. They're gonna do really well. I'm speaking into existence. Haas are gonna do really well, and that's my pitch. If you're gonna become an F1 fan, become a Haas fan. Don't do Ferrari. Ferrari will let you down. Mercedes is in the bin. McLaren. McLaren's McLaren, but like, eh. Um, scary. Don't do Red Bull because the drink is not good. But
I
Haas is
love
great.
CNC machines. If the argument against Red Bull is the drink is not good, you better be ready to go endorse Haas CNC.
Yes, yes, that's exactly what's happening. I will endorse anything Haas promotes.
All right.
Who is your biggest surprise?
Mine is Williams. Um, I mean, obviously, as a lot of the kind of bottom tier teams have been doing, they're making improvements on like the team side, right? Like in the building,
Yep.
people in charge, all of that. But
Hmm.
the biggest thing for me is for the first time in a long time, this is a
Hmm.
Williams team that doesn't have an obvious like weak driver, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Feels like
Yeah,
because
Albon's good. The Albon car, to be fair, Albon did take a step back, but that car was not very good.
but and Albon still got decent results as far as what you'd
Yeah, he
expect
got
from
three ninth
Williams,
places and a seventh.
which this is a team that not that long ago was competing with Haas, sure, but like points were out of the question unless you were George Russell
Yeah,
having an insane performance, right?
yeah,
Like
that's
this is a
fair.
team that's had Latifi and then Sargent and then not Sargent, right?
And then Franco, who kept crashing the car, but his dude Franco's good, but he just kept crashing, dude.
Yeah. But I think now that you've got the driver lineup that they have, both of them are good, right? And
Yeah,
they're both steady enough that,
yeah.
which I think is funny to say about Albon, given how his career kind of started with Red Bull.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, to be fair, you can't judge a driver based on their career with Red Bull, other than Max and Seb and
yeah,
Weber and Coulthard. But other than those, don't
no,
judge the career
I
on Red Bull, especially in like
I
Because
agree.
even Checo, like Checo had major issues like half the time.
Yeah,
So
and
like,
he was really good like before going to Red Bull, like right before.
see, yeah, well, I
But
mean that there's a reason for that. That racing point was unreal. The racing point was the second Mercedes on the grid. Like there was two Mercedes from Mercedes. The racing point was two more. There was four Mercedes on the grid. Um, but yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I have my gripes with Checo just because I think what I end up doing is I end up comparing the second driver too much to Max, and so like obviously the
that
second driver is never going to do as good as Max.
that always
Like obviously
happens.
Checo was a great driver and he was perfect for Max for those couple of years, but he kind of his time was over,
It
and it
got too
sucks how
much,
it
yeah.
ended because he never got to say a proper goodbye. But like you're finishing out in the points, you're finishing in Q3, or sorry, you're out in Q1, Q2 in a Red Bull. Like it doesn't really matter what the Red Bull is. If Max is if Max and you have the biggest points gap between a champion and their teammate ever, there's an issue.
Yeah. And there's
And
always been
last
a
year he
struggle
did
to
pick
find
up,
Max a teammate because his
yeah.
style is also pretty it's reportedly
His
pretty
style's
unique.
weird. No, I don't like his style. His style is the
Um
biggest. Like I don't think any driver could pair with him other than Schumacher or Senna. Those are the only two that could probably pair with him.
but like and how he likes a car is reportedly pretty
Yeah.
unique as far as drivers go, so it is hard to be his teammate when he's
hmm
established as the number 1.
hmm
Um but yeah, sorry. But yeah,
There
Williams,
you
I
go.
think, is gonna probably beat expectations, probably make it into the points more often than people expect, at least.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, did you see what they were doing? Like literally the day, like for Abu Dhabi postseason testing, and they were stripping down the entire car because Carlos was like, "This is all wrong." That's so funny. They they were taking apart the car on the track. That's amazing. Carlos is shaping them into something fierce. My biggest letdown for the 2025 Formula One season, and this may ruffle a few feathers. Lando Norris is my biggest letdown. Um, yes, he got a couple of wins this year. He got his first win in Miami and piled on a couple of wins. Yes, he was challenging for the title up until the last couple of races. I, I I'm not going to say it's a fluke because obviously he's a very talented driver. Um, but I think he regresses a lot. I think with the other teams, specifically Ferrari, um, and I would like to say Aston Martin, but I don't know what an Adrian Newey car looks like yet.
well, also,
But
has he technically joined them yet?
yes,
Like, has he started there yet?
I believe so. I believe he starts soon, if not a while back. I
Because
think because
I
I
thought I
heard I
remembered.
saw something that said Adrian Newey was um
Because I thought the deal was for.
from 2025 onwards. So yeah, he's not with them yet. But like I would
Well,
like to
we are in
see what he can
2025,
do.
but yeah, he's joining the team on March 1st.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think he can fix Aston very quickly. Also, when you have Fernando in your car, like in the car, if the car isn't total garbage, Fernando will perform. You saw that in 2023 when that first half of the year when Fernando was on fire. Like he could have had a win in Monaco if the team didn't mess up the strategy by calling him in for like softs or mediums or hards or whatever it is, and then having to recall him in for inters. If you just called him in for inters, he would have had a win. But I digress. Lennon Norris, I think he'll do fine, but I have a feeling he is going to not live up to expectations, and I'm going to
yeah,
be
and I mean the
sacrificed for it
expectations
this
coming
month.
into this year are high, right?
Yeah. Oh, very high. He was second in the championship, almost
And
third, but he
if
was
you
second.
took, but if you took like just the second half of the season, kind of, I don't know if second
Yeah,
half is the exact split, but like if you're talking about form coming into this season,
he's up
like
there.
he would be up there.
He's up there.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, my biggest letdown is kind of on the other end of the spectrum, but it would be Liam Lawson.
Yeah,
Um, because
I
him
can
going
see
to
that.
Red Bull, it feels like we've seen this movie before. Like
Hmm.
pre Checo going to Red Bull, it was a revolving door of young prospects that they kept bringing
Hmm.
up to try to capture some of what they had in Max, who came up at what 17.
Yeah.
Um, and they always disappointed because they couldn't fill Max's shoes as a teammate, right? Like, and I mean, you see guys like Albon and Gasly who are very talented drivers and having very successful careers in their own rights, but
Hmm.
nobody can measure up to Max. And I think that Red Bull historically had a very short leash when they were bringing in these prospects that didn't have the same pedigree as a guy like Checo.
Hmm.
And I don't know if right now Liam Lawson is a better driver than Checo. He could be, right?
Hmm.
But I think that if people are expecting an improvement versus Perez, I don't think you get that this year necessarily. At least,
Yeah.
like maybe over last year Perez, just by virtue of not having as many things kind of outside of the driver's hands go wrong.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
like gap to max wise, I don't know if that improves when people expect it to, and I think that that may mean that Red Bull has a short leash with them, like they did a few years ago with everyone.
Yeah. I, I I can see that. Yeah. Mostly just because like Red Bull itself are very like max heavy, just to begin with. They're not going to give leeway to an, as you said, they're not really going to give leeway to the second driver. So
Yeah.
I hope Liam does well though, because he seems like a good driver.
Oh, absolutely. I hope for the best for him, and even if he gets canned at Red Bull early, as we
Hmm.
saw with a bunch of other guys, there's still a path to a good career,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. Um, my best rookie, um, I would have Ollie Behrman, but Haas is I don't know yet. So I have, and Jack has the same thing. He wrote his down. I did not, but I think Ollie is a top talent, and he showed that last season in Ferrari, and even Haas, when he raced for Haas. But I think Isaac Hajar is going to make some waves. Yes, Yuki has destroyed his teammates. He has matched or beaten all of his teammates. Um, I just like Hajar. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really like have a specific reason. I just think if Haas isn't good enough for Ollie to be good, I think Isaac Hajar will take it.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Um, yeah, as you said, have the note that I would have picked Ollie Behrman if I had more faith in Haas taking a step forward, enough
Hmm.
for him to really to not be super limited by the car.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know if the car is going to be good enough to allow him to separate himself as a driver from even some of the other rookies, right? But I'm kind of my pick for best rookie is actually Antonelli with Mercedes.
Wow.
Um,
See that I read it. I don't want to make a reaction. That surprises me. I think we're complete opposites on that. On instantly.
and it's not so much that I'm watching his development or really any of the other rookies' developments and saying like I think that watching this guy in these other cars that he is going to be like that he is the best pure driver out of all of them. But I think that he's the one that the team has the most faith in.
Yeah.
Where like this is Mercedes we're talking about. And they were trying to pry Max from Red Bull to fill that seat. They could have gone after like proven guys and they're sitting here saying not only are we signing this guy to fill this seat, but we actively really want this 18-year-old kid in this seat, and we think he can be the next big thing. And I think when you have a team like Mercedes saying that, rather than a Red Bull looking for a suitable replacement in their pipeline kind of thing, where
Hmm.
they're not making the same bet on Lawson, it doesn't feel like. Where a lot of the other kind of lower tier teams, it doesn't feel like they're making that same bet,
Hmm.
right? Where
Yeah.
like and if Mercedes as a team, yes, the car hasn't been there lately, but clearly they've done well with their scouting and developing drivers. I mean, George Russell, even when he was racing for Williams, you could see was like good, right?
Yeah.
And so if they're placing that kind of faith in a driver, I am inclined to agree. Obviously,
Hmm.
we'll see how it turns out, but
Yeah. I think. Well, I'll just go into worst rookie right now because I have Kimi Antonelli as the worst rookie, and I don't think it's going to be close. Yes, Jack Doohan is on the hot seat. Yes, Bartello is on in Sauber right now, but Kimi hasn't showed me anything. Like at least in F1, like the few practice sessions he's had, he's crashed every time.
well,
That
he was
doesn't give
fast
me
before he
confidence.
crashed, but
Hmm?
he was fast
He
before he
wasn't.
crashed.
He was. Yeah, but it's the same thing with Colapinto. It's like, yes, you're very fast when you're not crashing, but you crash a lot. Like that's why he doesn't have a seat right now. But
Well, I actually am not sure that's why he doesn't have a seat right now. But
I think it is because he was outperforming Albon a little bit at the
um
start, and then he started
oh,
crashing.
I'll
But
get
I
to
just
that.
don't think Kimi's going to be that good. He's too. I think he's too young. I don't think he's going to develop the way Mercedes wants him to. I think it's going to be, I forget what driver it was, but it's just going to be a cluster screw where I'm trying not to swear. Um, it's messed up. He's not going to perform. I don't think it's the same thing that Williams did with Logan Sargent. That's who it was. It's the
Oh,
same
I don't
thing.
agree
You
with
bring
that.
in a driver who from F2 who doesn't have that much experience. He isn't good. He's going to
I
get
don't
sacked.
agree with that. I think Antonelli showed more in, albeit relatively few races in lower series, but I think he showed more there than Sargent did. And Mercedes has had faith in this kid for a long time, where it doesn't,
I don't know.
like Sargent being called up kind of felt random, whereas he feels like he's been kind of groomed to take this seat.
If Ferrari wins the chip with Lewis Hamilton, I don't. I don't see if Ferrari wins the next two championships with Lewis Hamilton, I don't see a world where Mercedes still agrees with the decision to bring on Kimi to begin with.
Well, it's not like they let go of Lewis per se.
I mean, they technically did, they kind of didn't give him the contract he was asking for, which all he was asking for was like a couple year deal and what was it? What's the term? Ambassador. He was for like he's an ambassador for the brand. And Mercedes said, "No, we don't want you to be our ambassador." And he said, "All right," and went to Ferrari.
I mean, I feel like there
But
was probably more to it than that.
probably, but that's the summed up version.
There's
That's
clearly
the
a
main thing.
desire to go to Ferrari as well there.
Yes, but the fact that Mercedes wouldn't give him ambassadorship, I think, was a big point because Lewis the year prior was like, "I'm all about loyalty. I'm all about loyalty. If Mercedes wants me back, they'll have me back."
I
So,
think that anytime you have an athlete kind of change teams, you always get something like that. I know there are some high profile cases in football where people kind of play that game on either side of trying to
Stephon
blame
Diggs,
the separation on the other side. Um,
Stephon Diggs. Anyway,
uh,
who is your worst rookie?
so my worst rookie is Jack Duhan. It is Duhan, right? Or is it like Duhan?
It's Duhan. It's Duhan. Yeah, it's Duhan.
I don't know, to be honest. I
Duhan,
should have
Duhan.
checked, but
Yeah.
And that's just because A, the team he's on, like Alpine is not good,
Nope.
right?
No.
And he's already starting on the hot seat because, like, reportedly they're already looking to replace him with Colapinto. And the
Yeah.
only reason they didn't is because he was already signed when they saw Colapinto have those performances with Williams, right?
Yeah.
Like they are looking to push him out mid-season and looking for any
Hmm.
excuse to do so. And I think that when the team is already bad and then doesn't believe in you as a rookie, like that's not a good combination. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Now, I also, and you alluded to it earlier, but Bortoletto with Sauber, I think could
Hmm.
also be pretty bad, just because yes, Sauber's bringing in a lot of talent and like on the team side, and they're starting with Audi next year, right, for like the
Hmm.
next regs for 2026. But
Hmm.
they were bad last year. They're gonna be
They
bad
were
this year.
super bad last year.
Yeah. And they're gonna still be bad, especially if their eye is to next year, right? Like you only have so
Hmm.
much time and budget you can dedicate, and it seems like they're gonna be focusing on really setting everything up for next year.
Yeah.
And so he's a talented driver. He may well be part of their future plans, right? Like it all sources kind of point to like Bortoletto being part of the future plans for the Audi team. But this
Hmm.
seems more like a get your feet wet year with a bad car than he's actually signed there to compete. And the
Yeah.
only reason I didn't put him as the worst is because, the other guy's practically already getting shoved out, right?
Yeah.
Potentially. Unless he really lights it on fire, I don't think he survives the season.
No. I kind of feel bad, but yeah, I could see him just halfway through summer break. Even I could really see even if he performs well, Alpine throwing him out.
Yeah.
Like if Pierre outperforms him, but he's still doing well, I think they throw him out still, which is not a good thing. Yeah, that is our NASCAR and F1 predictions. Thank you guys for watching Apex to Oval podcast. This is Alex.
That's
This is
Alex.
Jack.
This is Jack.
This is Jack. Thank you guys for watching, and have an amazing day. Right. Welcome. I forgot the name.
Run it back.
Welcome to Apex to Grid. That's yeah, Apex. No, Apex to Oval. Crap. Apex to Oval. Welcome to
How
Apex to
about
Oval.
you? You want to just
No, I'm leaving it in. I'll just edit it out. Three, two, one. Welcome back to Apex to Oval. I'm Jack.
and I'm
This
also
is.
Jack.
Oh wait, fuck! Did I just say I'm Jack? Shoot. All right,
Yeah.
ready? Hold on. Three, two, one.